Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's talk radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
Welcome back. It's Freedom Friday, a very special edition. We're so glad that you've stayed with us. You won't be disappointed. Welcome back to Your Turn with your host, Carl Gallups. Well, we're going to get right back to the topic of today's show. I hope that you will stay tuned for this show today, and I hope that you've already contacted some others to listen. This is extremely important. The information that you will hear today is extremely important. It's vitally important to your understanding of what's going on in the world. And it focuses on Israel. What's up with Israel? Why is there a nation called Israel? Why does the world seem to hate this nation so badly? Why is it that almost every nation of the world not only hates Israel, but has no intention of supporting Israel or even recognizing that Israel has a right to exist? And who are the Palestinians? Who are these people who continually say that they have claim to the land and that they're going to drive Israel into the sea and that Israel is going to be annihilated? And why is it that other nations of the world are joining in with this Palestinian movement? Why is it that the leaders of Iran are continually speaking for Israel's destruction? Why is it that the leaders of Syria are continually speaking for Israel's destruction? Why is it that Russia seems to have joined in with Iran now in these days and helping to arm Iran with nuclear armaments and supporting, or at least not condemning, Iran's statements about Israel? What is all of this about? And why is the United States so closely tied to Israel? Why is Great Britain so closely tied to Israel? These questions all will be answered in this show, and many, many, many more right here in this first segment. First of all, we just need to establish up front that there has never been a nation in that land that we're going to call Israel. There has never been a nation in that land other than the nation of Israel. And it was there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years as an established nation with a government and borders and walls and cities and a military and kings and coins, money, and a national economy and national trade, international trade. The only nation in the history of the world that has ever occupied that land as a bona fide nation of the world is the nation of Israel. Now, I will admit now it's miraculous, but a lot of people don't understand it or don't see it. It's miraculous that Israel has existed as a nation with borders and its own language and its own customs and its own cities and its own coinage and its own economy and its own government and its own leaders. It's miraculous that it has existed twice like that in world history. No other nation of the world has ever done that, by the way. There has never been a time where a nation has existed completely independently unique, and then it goes away for 2,000 years because it's conquered by other peoples, and then it comes back to the land. We'll talk more about that later. But there is a nation Israel there. It's there now, and it has been for over 60 years. But you need to understand that it is the only nation. There has never been a Palestinian nation there. Show me some Palestinian money. Show me an economy and governments and kings and cities and walls and international trade of the Palestinian people. It has never, ever happened. It has never existed. On the other hand, Israel has existed in the land, a historical, documented fact. No other nation has ever occupied that land as a bona fide nation but the nation of Israel. I mean, you know about King Saul and King David and King Solomon. Of course, after King Solomon, there was a civil war in that nation, and it was divided into the northern and southern kingdom. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. But even then, the nation lasted for over 500 years with kings, governments, militaries, borders, economy, trade, money. The only nation in the history of the world to ever have been established in that land was the nation of Israel. And guess what? Today, it is the only nation established in that little section of land in the world, the nation of Israel. Well, how did it all get started? Well, the Bible tells us, and archaeology confirms it, and other historical resources, but being a pastor and a Christian, I'm going to come from the biblical accounts here just for a little bit. But the Bible tells us that there were a people in the land of Egypt who were in bondage and slavery to the mighty Egyptian empire, which was the world power of its day. And these people were enslaved for almost 400 years. And they were none other than the children of Israel, or the children of Abraham, or the Hebrews. And history records and archaeology confirms that these people finally broke those bondages. Now, the Bible records a miraculous deliverance through the man Moses, and whether or not you believe the Bible really doesn't matter right now. The thing that matters is that the Israelis, the Hebrews, were in Egypt. They came out of Egypt, the whole nation of them. They were in the desert of Sinai for some 40 years. And then they entered into the land. Now, that land was occupied, but not by nations, but by tribal people, similar to when Europe came to the Americas. There were tribal people there, and those tribal people were warring against each other, all vying for power and for dominance and for territory. The same thing was going on in the land of what would eventually become Israel. And so the Hebrews went into the land. The Bible tells us, of course, and history records, they crossed over the Jordan. Their first conquest was the city of Jericho, probably the most ancient city known to man from all the archaeological excavations and information we have today. They conquered Jericho. From there, they conquered the city of Ai, which was the military stronghold of Jericho. And from there, they then gained dominance of the land, which we now call Israel. The Bible records it. History records it. Archaeological excavations support it. And so these people went in, over 1 million of them went into the land, conquered the land, and began to settle the land. Now, for 300 or 400 years, they settled that land according to their tribes. There were 12 tribes of Israel. Most folks know that. And they settled that area, and they dominated that area, and held control of that area as a nation led by tribal leaders and a series of judges, is what the Bible calls them. And we would call them military heroes or heroes of the people, leaders of the people. And so they held the land for 300 to 400 years through this system of judges. Now, in just a moment when we come back, I'm going to tell you what happens next in Israel's history when they establish themselves as a bona fide nation with a system of kings and a military and an economy and international trade. You don't want to miss what you're going to hear next. So please stay tuned on the other side of the break, because when we get back, we're going to continue our discussion on the importance of the nation of Israel. Why is it the central focus of the headline news almost every day? And what does it have to do with our lives? What does it have to do with the political connections of America, for the political dealings of America? What does it have to do with our own national security? What does it have to do with the other nations of the world? On the other side of the break, we'll be right back. Let's take this brief time out.